Where is my coffee? So earlier this morning, I was having my morning routine, doing a little journaling, watching a Matt Avella video, as you do, and I couldn't help but notice that Matt and his wife, Nat, are selling all of their stuff and they are going nomadic, traveling to Australia with no return date in sight. So they made this video basically expressing some of their fears and doubts and anxieties about the move. And having spent 20 years of my life nomading through about 60 different countries, I knew I could help. So I decided to make this video. I'm gonna put some advice out there if you have been thinking of traveling or moving abroad or going nomadic, but you're feeling some level of anxiety, then this video is for you. So the name of the video is We Sold All Our Stuff Seriously. I will link to it over here, but let's watch.
We got rid of all of our stuff.
So in the first part of the video, we see Matt and Nat packing up their entire house and selling everything. But of course, having some second thoughts because stressful. And this is about the time when they realize that even though they live like minimalists, they still have a lot of stuff because they're only human. They also talk about their mindset behind why they are leaving California in the first place. So just kind of going through their thought process of what they've been mulling over during this past pandemic year and why they came to this decision to get rid of everything and take a one-way ticket to Sydney, Australia.
Okay, so let's start with the stuff because there's a range of minimalism. There is, having a minimalist apartment, minimalist lifestyle. But on the spectrum of digital nomadism, by definition, we are extreme minimalists. Like many of us don't have a home base. Many of us only own what we can carry with us. Many of us don't own any furniture, we don't have a car, we don't have a lease, we don't have a mortgage payment, we don't have anything. I have reached my late 30s and I still do not own any furniture because I've been nomadic and living abroad for most of my adult life, since I was 20 years old for the most part. So there's a big difference between having a minimalist apartment and selling everything. And there is this, it's like cutting your hair. Like there's this fear of shedding all of our stuff. And the question is why? I think it's because we have been kind of brought up, especially if you're from a Western society, to consume things, to accumulate things, to buy things. It's just part of the fabric of our society. And we start to identify with what we have, what we own. It kind of goes alongside identifying with like what you do and remembering that you are a human being, not a human doing. And on the same note, your stuff doesn't make you who you are. A lot of the time, it just weighs you down. So the less stuff that you have, and even not having a home base at all, you start to cut away kind of the clutter, the static, and the noise of the modern day lifestyle. And what you're left with is just yourself. So I'm excited for Matt and Nat because they get to feel deeply who they really are outside of the context of their comfy and pretty home, their immediate community, their nucleus there in California, and just kind of go out into the world. So selling all of your stuff or cutting your hair, it can be cathartic, it can be scary, it could be freeing, it could be all of the feels at once. But once you get rid of it, even when you are traveling full time and you see things that you really want to buy and you're like, if I had a house, that would look really good in my house. But you don't buy it because what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to store it? So you just end up roaming the world, accumulating experiences and memories instead of stuff. And there is a lot of research and science behind the benefits of buying experiences versus buying material things. You know, all of us have heard our parents when we were younger saying like, stuff doesn't make you happy, but yet society was all focused on like gifts for birthdays or for Christmas or for Valentine's Day or for whatever. So it's kind of was like a do as I say, not as I do. Like, don't worry about things, even though you need things to have this status in society. You need your partner and people you care about to buy you things, to show their affection for you. There's like all of these other social and societal cues that just makes everything really confusing. And so when deep down you just want to be free, be nomadic, move to Australia, it's like you have this subconscious tie to your stuff. But I can say from experience to anyone who's selling their stuff and hitting the road, it's gonna feel weird at first, but once you get rid of it, you're gonna feel so relieved and so light and just so free to really go and do whatever you want. So get through that initial painful discomfort of it and then embrace it.
And then they explain why they made this decision to move to Australia. And this is a really important point.
One of the misconceptions of the digital nomad lifestyle is that you have to always be traveling from one place to another. You can't stay in one place for too long. But really, one of the biggest benefits of being able to work remotely is simply to base yourself in a place that you like for the reasons that you choose that don't have to do with where your office is located. So for example, I've been traveling for 20 years and I've had a home base on and off sometimes in different countries. I had a house in Costa Rica and all various parts of that country. I had a house in Nicaragua once for a year. I had a home base in North Carolina for a year, in Malta. Like I've had home bases in a lot of places, but since the pandemic, I chose to come back to Florida to be close to my family, because that's where I'm from. And so this year I've been able to basically quarantine with my family nucleus, even though we're in different cities. We've been within driving distance of each other. And so I've been able to spend more quality time with my family this year than probably, I don't know, a lot of years combined. And so going nomadic or booking a one-way ticket somewhere doesn't mean that you have to go to some remote island or some super exotic destination. It could simply mean that you want to move to a different city, state, or country for a specific reason, like being close to your family, getting a lower cost of living, having a better climate, lowering your taxes. Like there's a lot of different reasons that you might want to move. You don't have to know for how long you're going to stay there, but the good news is it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, it's what you want to do. And so I think that they can feel really confident that they've made the right decision.
And then in this part, he's just kind of reflecting on how disorganized he feels and how his stuff is everywhere and he's not really used to that. And that brings me to another important point.
This is a reason that it's good to slow travel and not change locations so often. You see the effort that is going into moving for this first time. And so the more often you change locations as a digital nomad, the more kind of ungrounded your life becomes. The more time you spend planning your transit from point A to point B, the more time you spend packing and unpacking, the more time you spend dealing with all the things that can go wrong when you travel.
I have my like 5th flight itinerary here, and I'm gonna try to go to Barcelona now again.
And so it's important to take that into consideration and see how your routine can get turned upside down when you do move to a new place, and why, if you are working full time, it's important to stay there for a while, for a few months, for even a year, and get acclimated to the lifestyle, the culture, really just embrace that spot and not waste hundreds of hours per year moving from point A to point B, unless your number one goal is just to see the world as quickly as possible.
All right, I'm done traveling for the week, hopefully the month.
And then here we have Nat kind of reflecting on how awkward and uncomfortable it can feel to make a life decision that kind of goes against the grain of what everyone else is doing. But here she's talking herself into it and justifying her decision to sell everything and leave, and rightly so.
I like how you said we are preparing to not have a lot of stuff for the next year or two. Anyone who has lived abroad or become a digital nomad knows that you never go back to the exact way that you were living before. So I think that Matt and Nat can expect that this 1 to 2 years could easily turn into 10 years. They might decide to settle in another country. They might decide never to come back to the US. Like, who knows? Time will tell. But most people underestimate the amount of time that they will be nomadic, because once they get in a new comfort zone in the lifestyle, they just keep going because it's like, why not?
And then naturally, this leads to even more questions and more self-doubt, because here Natalie is saying, well, like, how do we plan for the future if we don't even live anywhere? And there's just so many questions that come up during an important decision like this.
I will say that after having helped more than 1,000 people relocate to different countries, because that is my actual job, I have never had anyone say that they regretted moving somewhere. Even if they stayed less time than they expected, or even if they ran out of money, or even if it didn't work out, it is a life-changing experience. And I have said since my early 20s that if everybody could spend even 1 month living in a foreign country, it would completely change the world. It would change your life. My life was changed within 2 days of moving to Costa Rica the first time when I was 20 years old. And if you can go somewhere not on vacation but to live there, even if it's for a month, your life will change. And she also makes an important note about the kind of anxiety of not living the linear white picket fence kind of lifestyle. And I think that everyone who has checked off every box on, I guess you could say, the American dream, or our current definition of what success looks like as an adult, a good job, a good salary, a nice house, 3 kids, a dog, the car, like the job title. If that added up to happiness and fulfillment, everyone would be happy. Or not everyone, but hundreds of millions of people would be really happy. But what happens? Why is the midlife crisis a thing? It's like when you work your entire life to get all of the things that you're supposed to have, that you've done what you're supposed to do, and then you're not happy. It's like, well, what the heck have I been doing all this time? And so it does take intention and resistance to decide I'm not gonna adopt that, because you watching might have all of those things. You might have a beautiful family that you love. You might have a nice car in the driveway. You might have a beautiful house full of pottery barn. You have a lot to be grateful for, but at the same time, you know that that combination of things in itself does not mean that you are 100% happy or will be for the rest of your life. And there are plenty of examples of digital nomad families, expat families. You can start a family while you're on the road. You don't have to start a family, wait until the kids grow up, and then travel. You can actually have the lifestyle you want to have and then help your kids adapt to your ideal lifestyle and kind of flip things around. So that's my advice on that.
And then he's admitting that he's 80% stressed and 20% excited, but that he has faith that those ratios are going to flip around once he actually gets to the airport.
You're totally right, Matt. That is how it goes. It's always stressful before you leave. You always feel like you wish you had a few more days or another week to pack and prepare. But once you get through that uncomfortable part of selling stuff and packing and whatever, once you get to the airport, you'll be super excited.
And in this part, he's just really overwhelmed with all of his stuff and just the question of what to do with each thing. Keep it, sell it, trash it, or pack it and bring it with him. And that's very relatable.
As a videographer or YouTuber, I can say that the heaviest part of my luggage is my camera equipment. And it's really hard to travel as a minimalist filmmaker, but it's possible and lots of people do it. It's totally fine to have a storage unit, and I had one for years where I had my surfboards, my snowboard, my books, and I actually met a nomad once in Japan. She was a startup founder and entrepreneur, and she had a storage unit on like 4 different continents. So that way she never had to go back to California. She could just go to her closest storage unit and swap out her stuff. Like when I met her, she was coming from Antarctica to Japan to go snowboarding. And then after that, she was going to Greece. So she was just headed to her storage unit in Europe to get rid of all of her winter stuff and get her bathing suit.
And then here he's just still trying to come to terms with what he's actually doing. And he's like,
This is like totally insane.
and he's kind of freaking out. But
that's the thing, it's not insane. Actually, I think 2021 is going to be the best time to go nomadic, because for the first time ever, everyone will understand what that means. You won't have to explain yourself to people like, oh, I work remotely, I don't live anywhere. Like that, trust me, that gets old. And now people will just be like, oh yeah, cool. Like that's it. It's actually not as weird as it might feel or seem, because it was estimated that there could be up to 1 billion digital nomads by 2035, and that was before the pandemic. So this minimalist digital nomad lifestyle is going to become the new status quo. It will be mainstream, I thought within 10 to 15 years, but apparently maybe within 1 to 2 years. So if you're thinking this, like, you're not going to be an outlier anymore. This is that curve of adoption. It's like we already had our early adopters and we're getting into the mainstream. So it's an amazing time to be alive.
And then Nat saying that she hasn't seen her friends and family in over a year, and that was a big part of their decision to move to Australia.
This is another reason why I came back to Florida during the pandemic. I've gotten to hang out with my brother, my niece, my parents, my sister. My grandmother passed away a month ago, and I was able to see her 4 times this year. And if I had been living in another country, I wouldn't have been able to see her before she died. So at the end of the day, stuff is not important. Family, friends, relationships, community, this is the meaning of life. Another thing that going nomadic forces you to do is kind of apply the 80-20 principle to your stuff and your life. It's like, what are the 10 or 20% of things that give you 80 to 90% of the happiness? Like, you probably only wear 10 to 20% of what's in your closet. You probably only use 10 to 20% of your stuff. And if you've gone an entire year of your life without using something, it's a good litmus test to throw it away or give it away or sell it or something like that. Also, in my experience with the storage units, typically the longer you have that storage unit, the less emotional attachment you have to the stuff that's in the storage unit, and typically you might even forget what's in there. So I know that that's happened to me. Maybe that's why these TV shows are so popular, like Storage Wars and things like that, because people do forget that kind of stuff. You can't take it with you. And so if you find yourself in a position where the humdrum of daily life has just gotten too routine and you're kind of losing the magic of what it's like to be alive and the spontaneity of being in different places, then I would consider taking a period of time to travel or to even become nomadic. You don't have to sell everything. You could just put it in storage. You don't have to sell your house. You could sublet it. There's a lot of things that you could do to kind of have one foot in and one foot out of nomadism. But I can say from experience that once you make that decision and once you take the leap, it gets easier. I mean, there's going to be hard times. You're going to feel lonely. Sometimes you're going to second guess yourself. You're going to wonder if you made the right decision. But more often than not, you will feel confident that you are doing the right thing. And the most common feedback I get from my clients is that they wish that they moved sooner. They wish that they became digital nomads sooner. And that's the whole reason why I started this YouTube channel. I've been living this way my entire adult life, and I knew that other people could do it. You know, humans are inherently nomadic. We've been nomading around the world for our entire existence, and this is the first time in history that it's possible to go so far, so fast, so cheaply. Imagine if you were born 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago. You would not be able to comprehend the opportunities that we have today to be able to live anywhere, make money anywhere, work remotely, and design your life in the way that you want. So take advantage of this time. Nothing's perfect. No country is perfect. There will always be problems in the world, but that shouldn't preclude you from living your best life, or at least taking your best shot at achieving your dreams. There's no time like the present. I'd just like to say good luck to Matt and Nat on their journey. And for any of you watching who have been considering doing something similar and you've been looking for a sign or permission to do it, permission granted. I always tell people on my podcast that if they want permission to do something, just come to me. I will give you that permission.
Give this video a like if it gave you a little bit of motivation or inspiration, and share it with a friend who needs it too. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and see you in the next video.